I want to thank you for so many things, Sheryl. But I want to especially thank you for starting this conversation at this moment in history when we need more than anything else to grasp the moment that's really here.
Thank you.
Thanks to you so much for starting the conversation.
Thank you.
No, because you have the platform, you have been able to do it, and I don't think that I have ever encountered another woman in the position that you are in who has had the courage to stand up and to speak it and to start the kind of conversation that we've had. So from the bottom of my heart,
thank you. And
thank you.
You know, for me, I think the work I do with Lean In, the work we do for women, we stand on the shoulders of the women who came before us.
Absolutely.
We stand on the shoulders of the work you've done, of what Pat's done. She stands on the shoulders of the women before that. And so many of the younger women in this audience, it's your turn. We look forward to what you'll do next.
Absolutely. So listen, I want to tell you all something. Thank you everybody for tweeting, because we're trending everywhere, literally in the world right now. So keep going, and stick with us, because we are going to give you something that will change your lives at the end of this. It's not over yet. We've got a chance to talk to Sheryl a bit. People have been tweeting in questions for you. I have a couple that I want to ask you quickly, and then we're gonna get some of the questions that people have been tweeting in. One of the questions that I often ask women is, where is the female Mark Zuckerberg? Where is the female Bill Gates? When are we going to have a woman who literally creates something that changes how we think, how we live, in a different sort of way than I think we have seen women do? We have seen women be at the top of very big companies. We've seen many, women in very powerful positions. But when are we going to see a woman who changes the world like that?
So when you think about the companies that are startups, technology companies, the people who found them are almost always, I think, always computer scientists. And the numbers for women in computer scientists are plummeting. They were in the 37% in the mid-'80s. And now we're down to 13%. So if anyone worries about future for women in leadership, you should worry a lot about computer science. We need to encourage our daughters to take math and science. We need to encourage our daughters to code. It is interesting, because it's the exact same things that are holding women back from leadership or holding women back from computer science. We just don't think that's for girls. And we're wrong. Girls can code. I think the other thing that happens is people are protective of their children.
Girls who code are here tonight, by the
way. Join Girls Who Code. And I tell this to parents all the time: hand your kids technology. Let your daughters play online. It's counterintuitive, but we protect our kids and we protect our daughters more than our sons, and I think that's hurting us.
Wow. So one of the things that you talk about in your book is the chicken and egg thing about changing systems versus changing ourselves. And you have really given women a path and a roadmap and many different ways to be able to thrive in a large system, a large company, as we know them today. The question I have for you is one about what you call the egg, which is really where I come from, which is going about changing the systems, going about changing the world that we live in to begin with. How do you think we can actually put those two together and make an omelet that tastes good?
I think they go together, and I think it's really important. So Lean In operates at many levels. We also have partner companies that commit to, speak out for women. And what we are finding is that these things are much more combined. So in corporate America, you know this, no one talks about gender ever. Or if they talk about it, it's like in some HR seminar that they make everyone go to for like a day, and then no one talks about it. And the problem is, by not talking about it, we're not getting anywhere. Except the companies that have a lot of Lean In circles, all of a sudden, they have a lot of Lean In circles, and everyone's asking, well, what are those circles meeting about? And people from the CEO on down start talking about gender. And so what we see is individuals create organizational change, and organizational change creates individuals, and these things work together. Again, I think women in leadership roles is always a critical part of the answer, as I know you do. We know that if you have more senior women in your leadership ranks, you have better policies across the board. We also know that if we had more women elected, we would have better public policy. Look at what happened in the last Senate meltdown.
Right.
It was the women who made it work.
Right, right, exactly right. So what have you learned in this past year? What's been the most striking learning that you've had as you've been out there talking about the Lean In circles and you've seen the circles grow and develop? What have you observed and what have you learned from that?
I think probably the most striking thing I learned is actually how similar women's experiences are all over the world. Because my book is written based on research and my own experience, and I'm very upfront about that. This is my experience. I'm sharing it with the research, but I don't speak for everyone, and I didn't try to. I thought that would have been presumptuous. But what's so striking is that cultures are so different. Even within our own country, from the deep south to the north, to the east, to the west, to China, to Korea, to Japan, to France, right? It's so different. Except our stereotypes of men and women, which are actually the same, really the same. Everywhere in the world, we expect men to be leaders and women we call bossy. There's a phrase or word for this in every language. And that is so striking. And what's been so striking as Lean In has grown is that we hear from women in Africa, we hear from women in China, we hear from women that grow up in the poorest of circumstances, to women who have the most resources in the world. And there are such differences with their situations, but there are also such similarities. Such similarities. And I think the universal need we have to give voice, to really be part of the decisions, has been something that's been incredibly gratifying for me, but also a real learning experience.
Wow. One of the things that I really loved in your book was your advice to women to, as they're thinking about their career paths, to go for the growth. I would love to hear you talk a little bit more about that. What does that mean to you? How has that influenced you? How would you tell your daughter to pursue that principle?
So what I say in Lean In is that you should look for where there's growth opportunities. So a field that's growing, if you've picked a field that's not growing, the part of the company or the organization that needs people, because that creates opportunity. One of the most common things we've heard since we launched Lean In is, okay, I want to lean in, how? How? And so we've worked hard at giving some answers to that. So if you go to leanin.org, there's a whole bunch of not just circle material, even though I do think circles are a huge part of how, but real hard skills: how to own a room, how to speak and be heard, how to tell your story, how to manage your time, how to negotiate your salary. The graduates edition of Lean In, which is going to come out in April, has 6 new chapters written by other experts, and they try to answer how. How to hear your own voice, how to think about being a man who's leaning in, how to think about being a woman of color who's leaning in, how to find a job, how to negotiate a salary, trying to give people more specific skills so that they can answer the question, okay, I want to lean in, now what?
Mm-hmm. So one of the other things that you talked about in the book, and that's kind of related to these specific skills and issues that women raise, is you have an interesting conversation, an interesting take on the issue of mentorship and getting a mentor. And, on the one hand, you probably yourself had one of the most powerful mentors that anyone could have had. And yet you say that mentorship may be a little bit overrated, that maybe we think too much about the need for mentors. Why do you feel that way?
Yeah, so it's not that I think we think too much about the need for mentors. Mentorship is really important and sponsorship is really important. I just think we have the wrong message to the wrong audience, and yet again, it's hurting women.
How?
We walk around telling, not men, we walk around telling women you need a mentor. We really don't tell men that. So people walk around saying, will you be my mentor? Will you be my mentor? And it's like our generation's Prince Charming tale. Prince Charming.
Like are you my mother?
Yeah.
Right? The story.
Prince Charming. In the 1950s, my mother was told that Prince Charming was going to whisk her away on a white horse, kiss her, and she'd live happily ever after. Never was going to happen. Still to this day, no mentor is going to come whisk us off on a white horse and put us in the corner office. Not going to happen. We have this way of telling women to depend on others. I think we need to tell women what they can do for themselves, which is why, again, Lean In circles, peer mentorship is something they can do. But importantly, and I advise a lot of CEOs, we need to tell the senior men in the world that they need to mentor young women. So PricewaterhouseCoopers, the CEO, read my book. I had never met him, and he wrote a letter to his top 400 execs asking them all to mentor women and minorities. That's the right message to the right group.
But I just want to push on that just a little bit, because actually when you say people don't tell a man to go get a mentor, on the other hand, they don't have to, because the men have traditionally supported each other, helped each other. A guy gets fired from a job in 5 minutes, he's been, helped to get another job someplace else, that sort of thing. So what I'm wanting to push on a little bit is how do you see that we could actually encourage and support and teach women to link up with each other a little more, support each other a little more, and to realize that that is mentorship.
That's right. Well, that's what Lean In circles are doing. I know that's what Take the Lead is working on too. I think men are told to succeed and they'll get a mentor. So there's a chapter in my book on this. I actually walk through the ways I think people actually get mentors. I think people actually get mentors by building real relationships with people. No one gets a mentor by walking up to someone and saying, will you be my mentor? You get a mentor by walking up to someone who's your professor and saying, I really loved that lecture and I have a question and it's a good question. Or, I saw you speak and here's what I think you missed. Or, I work in your company. Hey, I know you're working on that. Can I help you? That's how you get mentors. That's how men get mentors and that's how women get mentors. And importantly, you are exactly right. Women helping women, Lean In circles, Take the Lead groups, this is part of the answer. We can do this together. So
I want to ask you one more question, and then I want to get some of the questions that people have been tweeting in. And this one is a huge fascination for me. As I was rereading your book in preparation for this conversation, I was so struck by feeling like I was seeing two parts of Sheryl. And I was seeing the corporate executive success Sheryl, and I was also seeing the Sheryl whose heart is so passionate and so into social justice and so into making the world a better place. Not that those two can't go together, but I'm very curious about what you see for Sheryl as you go forward, as you've kind of got these two parallel parts of what you're spending your time and your energy and your passion on right now.
I do basically three things. I have my job at Facebook, which I really love. I work on Lean In and issues for women, and I am a mom and a wife. And
so you mean women can do multiple things at once?
Turns out they can.
I'll be darned.
They always could.
Oh my goodness, we fly and
Just
we
like
swim
men.
and we lead, just
That's
like
right.
Alberto said.
That's
we
right.
fly and we swim and we lead.
That's exactly right.
So you're doing all of those.
I can do all of those. I can't do everything perfectly. I can't do everything as well. I'm here tonight. I kissed my kids goodbye to get on a plane and come here. That's always hard for me. But I'm here because I believe in what we're doing, and then I'll go home.
Fantastic.
And we can do that.
Fantastic. Thank you. So we have so many questions that have been tweeted in that we have had some folks, Caitlin, Chris, somebody's going to bring us some questions. They've been looking at them and picking out some of the best ones. I want everybody to meet Caitlin and Chris, who are two of our most fantastic folks who are working on Take the Lead. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. All right, so I'm going to see if okay, so.
Want me to read them?
From, you want to choose your own?
No, I
You've
can
got
help
younger
you.
eyes than I do, you can probably see some of them better. Take
They're
one,
written
take
kind of
this,
small,
see what
yeah.
you like. See?
From Mira Johnson, CPC, Ambitionista LA. What character traits do all successful women leaders have in common, and how can we nurture those qualities? I think self-confidence and belief in yourself, or the willingness to put yourself out there, even if you're not quite sure you can do it. So women apply for jobs when they meet all the criteria on average. Men apply for jobs when they meet 60% of the criteria and believe they can learn on the job. You don't have to know everything to take an opportunity. You just have to believe you can try.
Just say yes is actually how I like to put it.
Okay, from Chris on Facebook. How can dads be role models to their daughters? Great question, Chris. So by junior high, today, not 10 years ago, today, parents have higher aspirations for their sons than their daughters. And we speak differently to our sons and our daughters. We underestimate our daughters crawling and overestimate our sons. All of us. Me too. All of us. Because these biases are so deep. And so I think being aware of those biases, being aware that if you want your daughter to be as ambitious and successful in any way, shape, or form she wants to be as your sons, you have to give her that ambition is important. But I also think as fathers, what we do is so important. If your daughter never sees you do your share, she will marry someone who does not do his share. And so Chris, wherever you are, do laundry, wash dishes, do homework, run carpool, and change diapers. That's what you can do for your daughter.
Oh, great. Okay. From Shanice Clark.
How does Lean In translate to women in colleges and universities? So we have a very active Lean In program. We're on 200 campuses, and how that really happens is one student, sometimes two, sometimes five, says, I wanted to do this, and I want to start Lean In circles, and they start them. They start the first one, it spawns the second, it spawns the third, and some campuses have hundreds of them. It's pretty exciting. But I think starting the conversation about leaning in, starting the conversation about ambition, starting the conversation about how women can have end, not just or, end careers and families, not just or, starting in college is exactly the right time to do it. So I hope you guys get active here.
That brings us to the next question.
Next question. How influential is company culture to a woman's career and leadership aspirations? I mean, really important, right? There are companies with better cultures. There are companies with worse cultures. I'm really proud of Facebook. You know, we give 4 months of maternity and paternity leave. Interestingly, that's something our public policy doesn't really support. It costs us more to provide it for men than women because states reimburse higher for women, and a lot of states don't reimburse at all or don't reimburse for men. And so I think finding the right company with the right opportunity for you. But what I will say to any woman out there or any man is that don't assume that whatever company you join has the right culture, and don't underestimate your own ability to change it. By asking the right questions, by doing really well, if you are doing well at your job, they will go to all kinds of lengths to keep you, including all kinds of flexibility. And there are some companies that won't do that, and those are the companies that you need to raise your voice and try to change them.
Wow. Thank you.
One more Twitter question.
This is from a group here at ASU called Women as Hero.
Nice.
In a moment, they have been very instrumental in organizing this entire event. And in a moment, actually, your encore is going to be that some of them are going to come up here and ask you some questions themselves. But they have another question.
How do we start implementing change in small companies where discrimination against women is coming from the company's top leaders? Look, there's no easy answer, and part of why I started the Lean In organization along with writing the book is to give people the context and the air cover to have these conversations. So I hear all the time a woman saying, I'm discriminated against, what should I do? And to be honest, it's really hard for one person to fight a system. If a company has 200 Lean In circles up and running, those issues are being discussed, and so it's so much easier for that person to say, yeah, this is happening to me, this is happening to lots of other people, and we're not left there alone. I think we have a responsibility. I know you're doing this with Take the Lead. I know this university is doing it. We have a responsibility to make it so there isn't one woman fighting the system, so that we all together are fighting the system together and changing it.
That is actually what I call sister courage. being willing to ask for what you need, reaching out to another woman to offer help, having the courage to put the issues on the table, and then having systematically planning out how you're going to go and make that change. And it has been very, very interesting to me and inspiring to hear how the Lean In circles are achieving that. And if there's anything that we can do through Take the Lead to support that, we want to do it. So please call upon us in any way, shape, or form. That's what we want to do, is to leverage all of these amazing things that are happening, everything that you have started. We so appreciate your being here. We so appreciate your words.
what you're doing. Thank you.
So appreciate your words. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. Let's give Sheryl another huge applause. Come on, stand up, stand up.
Thank you,
stand
thank
up,
you, thank you.
Stand up.
Thank
Come
you.
on,
Stand up.
stand up.
All right. The students are coming.
Now, so, yes, thank you, thank you, thank you.
And here are the students.
The students are coming. The students are coming. We're going to, we knew that you all would love Sheryl so much that you would want to have an encore. So we're going to have an encore coming from the very students that I just mentioned, Women as Hero. And Lauren Sandground is going to lead the way, as she has been doing, having started the organization. Thank you. Let me just let you get right. So introduce yourselves and ask Sheryl your questions.
Thank you.
My name is Victoria Polchinsky. I'm the president of Women in STEM and a huge supporter of Women as Hero.
Yay.
And my question was, so I actually interned at a small company where the CEO came up to me and he was trying to give me advice. And what he told me was, this is a man's world. And
We're trying to change that.
yeah, yeah. But my question was, so other leaders are also saying the same sorts of things, and what would your response to that be?
I read a whole book responding to that. But the book is my response to that, right? And hopefully the book and Take the Lead and all of these things we all do to create this dialogue makes that an unacceptable thing to say.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Imelda Mejia. I am the Vice President for Women as Hero. As a student leader, I see that a lot of young women don't know that inequality still exists. Why do you think this is so, and what's the best way to address this?
It's so tricky, right? Because we don't want to tell the next generation, oh, inequality still exists, and make them kind of scared or disgruntled, but you want them to be aware. The new edition of my book, I wrote a letter to all the graduates. It starts it. And in that letter, I wrote what I would tell you, which is I want you to understand the ways in which it's not even, not to make you despair, but so that you are prepared. So that when someone says it's a man world, you have something to say and you know the challenges we're up against. I think gender for too long has been something we thought was okay, and it wasn't an issue. And the numbers say it clearly, it's still an issue, right? I think our goal, and Gloria and I share this, is we'd like to be put out of business. We'd like Take the Lead not to need to exist or lean in because it was just an equal world. But until then, I think our message is to stand together. Join Take the Lead, join Lean In, find women in any way, shape, or form, or men who support you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jordan Bruner. Big shout out to Barbara Barrett because I go to Barrett, the honors college. So, I'm one of the guys that is part of Women as Hero, and I really like the work that they do. My question is, as a young man coming up and trying to change the world, what should I do to help women in leadership roles or help them to
Yeah. It's a great question. I think one of the things my book didn't address is the role men play in leading in. I addressed it a little bit in one chapter, but I think not as fully. So if you go to Lean In, we have lots of men telling stories about how they're leaning in. There's a chapter in my new book that's coming out from a man. I think the answer is to care about equality, care about it for women, care about it for different races, care about it for everyone, and also set the right example. Not just helping women lean in at work, but really doing your part to lean in at home.
Hi, Sheryl. My name's Lauren. I'm the president of Women as Hero. Thank you so much for coming here.
Wow, congratulations to you. Good job.
Thank you. And thank you so much for propelling the women's movement forward. Just this past year with your book, Lean In, it's done incredible things for women around the world. So I guess my final question is, what are you seeing for the big changes that are going to be happening in the next few years for women?
The big changes are equality. Everywhere I go, women tell me that they've asked for raises and gotten them. CEOs tell me in kind of a disgruntled way sometimes, you're costing me so much money. Because all these people read your book, and then the women want to get paid as much as the men. Imagine. But I think the reason Gloria and I are here and all of you are here is that change doesn't happen at the aggregate level. Change happens with individuals. Changes organizations like Women as Hero. Changes is men who join those organizations. Change is every single person in this audience who made a commitment to themselves to do something they were afraid to do and goes and does it.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Sheryl. Thank you.